Rewind. Retro Rewind. 20 years of radio history, celebrating over 30 years of the greatest songs ever made.
Hi, this is Rick Springfield, and you're listening to Retro Rewind with Dave Harris.
Retro Rewind!
Retro Rewind. Retro Rewind. One-on-one.
All right, everybody, Dave Harris from Retro Rewind. A pleasure to hang out with a great friend of ours for many years. You were on our very first show back in '98, Rick.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
you were. We put the best out there.
I should get a plaque or something, shouldn't I?
You should. Let me look into that. We'll get you one as soon as possible.
At least a gold watch.
A gold watch? Isn't that like what's the 25th year? That's I'm looking over here at Larry. That's a
Diamonds.
thing. Diamonds?
Diamonds.
Well, we got to sell a lot of advertising. some diamonds here. But we're glad to have you back, buddy. You were our Artist of the Month for August, and this album is really we're talking about Venus in Overdrive is really hung about, and I think it's easily your best album. I mean, you've had many albums, and to say that, might even be an understatement, because I think that on this album you took some chances, as we talked about earlier. For instance, maybe with your vocals, because I think you said in the past you kind of. They were. I
like to bury them.
You bury them in the mix a little bit.
I'm not confident about my singing, so I would bury them in the mix a lot.
The man won a Grammy, but he's not confident about his singing. But you know what? On this album, it really sounds a whole lot different. It's out there. You're singing strong. And what changed for you? Why
I didn't mix it.
Is that what it was?
You see, when you put the track, I mean, I know, but for everyone else, you record the tracks, multi-tracks, vocals, and guitars and drums, and then you mix what's called mixing, and when you put them all together so that they're on, when someone plays it, it all sounds together. And I didn't mix this, and I did that purposely because I knew that I would bury the vocals. And so I gave it to Chris Lord-Alge, who was a great mixer and did the Green Day, Broken Dreams and that whole
American
album.
Idiot,
American Idiot. And he's a great mixer. And so we gave it to him, and he stuck him out there. And at first it was kind of like, whoa. But I love his sound, and we got, I was very confident about the songs. I was pretty confident about my singing because we'd play them a lot, we'd rehearse them and everything, and so I just went for it. I was very confident about the songs.
And you gave him sort of carte blanche then on the mixing, right? Basically.
Yeah, well, we did a mix and showed him where the ballpark was.
Okay.
But my initial thing was to get the vocals out anyway. I wasn't, I'm now pushing it more because it's like, what have I got to lose?
Right. Well, this album, Venus in Overdrive, was your highest debuting album, I think, ever for your career.
Yeah.
And, you've been doing music since, 72, 71? Well, before that, but
in America since 71, yeah.
Yeah, so, 35, 40 years, and what a great achievement in 2008, for you.
I was happy with it, for sure.
Absolutely. Of course, we were all rooting for you. Now, this release here, the songwriting, I think, your bass player, Matt, right, you wrote all the songs with him?
Yeah, I wrote all the songs with Matt, and he plays bass with me in the band, and we're very similar. First time I've ever written a whole album with somebody. I've written songs with people occasionally, but most of the time I'm pretty much a solo writer, but Matt and I are very similar in a lot of ways, so it really worked out great. Had a lot of issues, similar issues.
Yeah. Well,
he's a great musician.
Absolutely. I was listening to the album on the way down again, and there's some nice little notes in there that he very intricate, which are very nice. But I think the songwriting on this album is very deep, and I know that just from listening to that, because I try to dabble in some songwriting.
Yeah, you're great, actually. I love your voice too.
Oh, thanks. But this album that you have is it's very inspiring to me and other people. I think what we talked about earlier in our last interview is that there's a lot of artists these days that are doing or trying to go back to the 80s sound, the 70s, or maybe early 90s, and those are people that influence them. Maybe you've influenced some people, the Cars and people like that. But for you to go back to that sound that was your own, and maybe even incorporate it here on this record, I think, kind of show them how it's done.
Yeah, we definitely had an ear to the old stuff as far as the kind of the instrumentation and the way it was recorded, but I wanted to go further than that, and so I think it's a very modern sounding record too. Although there's certain songs have a hark back to the to the vibe of like Working Class Dog.
Right. Well, it's good that you allowed yourself to do that, because that's something that you did. You
I'm
created
not
on your own.
embarrassed about it. I'm very proud of it.
Not at all. Venus in Overdrive, I'm sure you've heard a million times. That song, it just, what is that? And of course, it's probably Jesse's Girl, right?
Oh, you mean Victoria's Secret?
Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. I mean, we wrote the song and then we arranged it in a Victoria's Secret way. I mean, in a Jesse's Girl way, just as a kind of a nod to that vibe, But it's a very different song.
It is.
I mean, and it's a strong enough song to stand on its own, so we
does.
felt okay with doing it.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool, little tongue-in-cheek, I think.
Definitely.
We just talked a little bit about what's Victoria's Secret. Got a lot of airplay. Kind of got the ball rolling for this album. What would you like to tell us about that song? Maybe the writing process or even the production.
It was one of the first songs we did that we worked in a hotel. We were staying in a hotel like 5 days, so we brought a little recording studio in, portable studio, and set up in my hotel suite, and we recorded. We just started writing, and two of the songs that came out of that were What's Victoria's Secret and Mr. PC.
Okay.
So it was the hotel was haunted, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but certainly didn't hurt.
Right. No, and you just talked about Mr. PC a little earlier, how it went to radio recently in a
plain brown wrapper, kind of like your Playboy in the 50s, had to ride in a plain brown wrapper.
You think the young PDs of today got it?
Yeah, we got a lot of people reacting to it because they put it up against other records and it won for like quite a few days, I think, on this radio station anyway. But nobody knew who it was. They were calling in trying to say, who is that? Who is that?
Yeah.
So the most often thing we get is like, it sounds Foo Fighters, Fighters, or so. So it's just a really good pop rock tune,
Yeah.
And the plain brown wrapper thing certainly, it gets rid of the, I know who Rick Springfield is. He's the one-dimensional doctor on General Hospital.
You really think people think that now?
I'm sure that, of course. I mean, there are people who their only experience of me is Jesse's Girl and that whole thing. It was because it was so big that it touched people who didn't become fans. So their memory. I mean, I feel like there's people that's my memory of them too, is like a one-dimensional thing, and so it's understandable. I'm not complaining about it. It's just the way things are.
But I think your fan base has changed a little bit because it used to be all females, and now it's cool.
Yeah. No, we're seeing a lot more guys, and a lot of guys are it's very cool. I mean, it used to be girls coming up, and the guys coming up with like kind of nervous, and it's a very different experience because they were fans, but they didn't. It wasn't okay to say so back then because I was very touted as being a girl artist, although I wrote songs from a guy's perspective and about girls that guys could understand because I'm a guy and I had the same issues, I mean, Jesse's Girl is so much a guy song that it's ridiculous. It's about wanting to nail your best friend's girl. I mean, how more male does that get?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the word mood, we're looking at the probably the only human being to have a top 10 hit with the word mood in it. I remember when that song was out, I was 10. I was talking to my mom. I'm like, what does moot mean? And her favorite phrase back in that day was, look it up.
Oh.
Go to the dictionary and look it up, and there's moot. So, if there's ever any royalties on the word moot, I think you're
should,
overdue.
Certainly, I should get like at least 100,000 of every Webster's dictionary that's sold.
At least, and any other brand, there's Merriam-Webster and all those guys.
Retro Rewind! The 90s, 80s, the 70s, it's all right now on Retro Rewind.